This is Mystery Babylon Unveiled, Lucifer the Queen of Heaven, Chapter 16. I am and none else beside me. Isis is the most important figure in Freemasonry. Just as with Kali, there are direct references to her in Bible prophecy. Isaiah chapter 47 is such a prophecy. In this chapter, she is called the Virgin Daughter of Babylon, the Widow, and the Lady of Kingdoms. You will see that God is not just addressing a city in this chapter, but the spirit of Babylon that rules over this city. Starting at verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O Virgin Daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. That is Isaiah 47:1. Scrolling down. This first verse is a direct shot at Isis's name. When the Most High tells her, sit on the ground, there is no throne, that jumps off the page to me. Why would he say such a thing unless the subject of this prophecy has some kind of connection to a throne? Isis's name means throne. She is a personification of the throne in Egypt and wears an image of a throne on her head. One must be her offspring or seed to even sit on her lap, which is the symbol of the throne. Verse 2 says, take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks and make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. So that is verse 2 through 3. Here, the Most High Yah is saying that he is going to unveil her. He's going to discover all of her secret places, passing over the rivers or over the private areas, and exposing her nakedness. He's giving the image of snatching the covering off of a harlot to reveal her shame. Have you ever heard of the veil of Isis? The veil of Isis, or the veil, represent Isis's secrets, her mysteries. From Isiopolis on the veil of Isis, there are a few other ancient references to the veil of Isis. The Greco-Egyptian magical papyri refer to it on several occasions. In one, the magician invokes Isis and asks her to remove her veil in order to reveal the future and shake destiny. By revealing the mysteries beneath her veil, the magician hoped that the goddess who was worshipped as Lady of Fate and Fortune could not only predict but could change or shake destiny. The unveiling of the goddess became a symbol of the revelation of esoteric secrets, sometimes specifically the revelation of Egyptian secrets. At the Herbert Hoover National Historic Site, there is a statue of Isis that is veiled and bears a significant inscription from her temple in size. I will explain what that inscription is and what it means later in this chapter, because it is directly referenced by the book of Isaiah in chapter 47. Here we have an image of Isis by August Puttermans at the Herbert Hoover National Historic Site. Scrolling to the next page. The first 3 verses of this chapter are too specific to be dismissed as a coincidence. We'll see even more references to Isis as we read on. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Isaiah 57:4 through 5. The Queen of Heaven had the most important courts in Babylon and the land of the Chaldees. The modern version of the Queen of Heaven, the Virgin Mary, is called the Lady of all Nations. Another word for nations is kingdoms. This is another reference to the goddess, confirming that this prophecy against the virgin daughter of Babylon also has a spiritual subject. Verse 6 says, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke, and thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Scrolling down. The Most High God Yah sent Israel into captivity in Babylon, and this goddess which ruled over Babylon laid very heavy the yoke of iron around their necks. Verse 8 reads, Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayeth in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. In Freemasonry, Isis is called the widow. The Masons are called widow's sons, or sons of the widow. Every Freemason, every president, and every king is pictured as the child sitting on Isis's lap. They are the seed of the serpent, and the serpent proclaims here that she shall not know the loss of her children. Eve has her righteous children, and Babylon has her unrighteous children. She also says in her heart, I am, and none else beside me. This is a declaration by her that she is God. Scrolling down. In Isaiah 45:5, the Most High God Yahweh says, I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. When the virgin daughter of Babylon says in her heart, I am, and none else beside me, Isaiah 47:8, that is a declaration of rebellion against the Most High, in the same spirit as Lucifer saying in Isaiah 14:14, I will be like the Most High. She goes on to say in Isaiah 47:8 that, next page, she shall not sit or remain as a widow. This is yet another reference to Isis, who is called the widow. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day. The loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. God tells Isis that she will be a widow, and that she will know the loss of children, and this will be for the multitude of her sorceries. This draws a connection to Isaiah 57:3-4, where the goddess Kali is directly referenced. It reads, But draw near hither, ye sons of the sorceress, the seed of the adulterer and the whore. Against whom do ye sport yourselves? Against whom make ye a wide mouth, and draw out the tongue? Are ye not children of transgression, a seed of falsehood? Scrolling down. God calls her the sorceress, and he mentions the act of making a wide mouth and drawing out the tongue, like Kali, an act which is directed against him. He calls the fornicators involved in her worship the children of transgression, or the children of wickedness. Verse 10 in Isaiah 47 says, For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, None seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. As the mystery of iniquity in Mystery Babylon, Isis thinks that none see her. However, God has already promised to remove her veil and expose her nakedness. And then she says a second time in her heart, I am, and none else beside me. It is said twice so that we can't miss it. The Most High God wouldn't bother to include these words from the great whore in his prophetic scriptures twice if it wasn't extremely important. In the temple of Isis at Sais are inscribed the words, I, Isis, am all that has been, that is, or shall be. no mortal man hath ever me unveiled. Is that not exactly what we've been reading in Isaiah 47? She says in her heart, none seeth me, and I am, and none else beside me. This is no coincidence. The virgin daughter of Babylon is a spirit who is being directly confronted in Isaiah chapter 47. In the Lost Keys of Freemasonry, Manly P. Hall says of Freemasonry and its connection to Isis, enter the temple in reverence, for it is in truth the dwelling place of a great spirit, the spirit of Masonry. Masonry is an ordainer of kings. Page 90. We will fully expose that great spirit of Freemasonry before we're done here. Manly P. Hall gives a name for the spirit of Freemasonry. Freemasonry, as an institution, is Isis, the mother of the mysteries, from whose dark womb the initiates are born, and the mystery of the second or philosophic birth. Thus all adepts, by virtue of their participation in the rites, are figuratively at least the sons of Isis. As Isis is the widow seeking to restore her lord and to avenge his cruel murder, it follows that all master masons or master builders are widows' sons. Page 153. Isis is called the widow because her husband Osiris was murdered by the often antagonistic god Set. My own discernment, by the grace of the Most High, brought me to the understanding that the Egyptian god Set is also associated with the Hebrew god Yahweh, YHWH. I believe the name Set came from Adam's son Seth. Noah and Shem kept the truth of the Most High God through the flood. Then Yahweh became identified with the Egyptian god Set because of the events surrounding the Tower of Babel. This is where the Tower of Babel itself becomes the source of the myth of the death of Osiris. As we read in Genesis 11, verse 8 through 9, so the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Genesis 11, verse 8 through 9. Yah stopped the tower from being built and scattered the builders across the earth. That story is reflected in the Egyptian myth where Set murdered the sun god Osiris and scattered his body parts across the earth. As was revealed earlier in this chapter, the Bible refers to Isis as the virgin daughter of Babylon. Therefore, Babylon represents Isis, and the builders are her husbands and also her children. Now that her metaphorical husband has been slain, Isis becomes a widow, the Black Widow, and it's her goal to regather the pieces of her husband's body and resurrect him as her child Horus. In the Egyptian myth, Isis is able to find all the pieces except for the phallus of Osiris. The phallus is the generative principle in the male. It also symbolizes the lost word in Freemasonry. Typically, the obelisk, which can also serve as a sundial, represents the phallus of the slain sun god. The goddess creates a substitute which she uses to conceive, and she rebirths her husband in the form of her son, who is, quote, the word, unquote. The broken pillar, or obelisk, represents the slain sun god and the unfinished Tower of Babel. It's Isis's mission to avenge the murder of her husband against Set. Horus, Isis's son, is the one who exacts this revenge in mythology. This can be symbolic of Babylon's son, the beast from the bottomless pit, defeating the true God Yahweh, who is the adversary in the eyes of the Egyptians. When the Luciferians speak of Satan, Yaldabaoth, or Saklas, they are referring to the true God, YHWH. He is also called the Demiurge, as mentioned earlier. Yahweh has commandments and requires his children to come out from among evildoers and be separate, because he stands against their forms of enlightenment, so that they claim that the Hebrew God is blind and ignorant. In Freemasonry, the direction of the north, where God's throne is regarded as a place of darkness where there is no light. On the Masonic tracing boards, you may notice that the directions of the north, east, south, and west are not arranged like they are on a compass. The east is where the north would be on a compass. The east is where the sun, moon, and blazing star is. The all-seeing eye is sometimes where Venus or Sirius, represented by the blazing star, would be. The north is on the left side of the board, where the west would be on a compass. Not only is the Most High's throne in the sides of the north, but as the word tells us in Malachi 3:6, Yah says, "For I am the Lord, I change not." James 1:17 says of him, "With whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning." The North Star, Polaris, is a star that doesn't change and shows no degree of movement. There's no doubt in my mind that the North Star represents the Most High. It's both the Most North and the Most High Star. It represents the unmovable truth that we can use to navigate the world we live in, contrary to the strange woman Lucifer, whose ways are movable so that we can't know them. So on this image, we have the alma mater, so-called, the alma mater statue by Daniel Chester French, 1903, at Columbia University. And I will get into what that means later. And in this image, we have the first degree tracing board by Joshua Bowring, 1819, showing the genius of Freemasonry as a triple goddess. We will be getting a lot into the genius of Freemasonry. We have already touched on that before, and we will be very deep into explaining who that is soon. But as mentioned in this chapter, the north would be on this side of the tracing board, and Venus has replaced the North Star's position at the north side of the tracing board. They have put Lucifer in the Most High Yah's spot. Yeah, we will be discussing these goddesses more. So that was chapter 16. The next chapter would be chapter 17, wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Mystery Babylon Unveiled, Lucifer the Queen of Heaven, brings to light Bible scriptures which prove that the one known as Satan, the devil, and Lucifer is in fact a woman. It reveals how she is identified in the Bible as the Queen of Heaven and the great whore of Babylon. This book also brings forth incontrovertible historic evidence confirming that Lucifer was worshipped in the earliest recorded history as the Great Mother Goddess, and that she is still worshipped as such within the halls of secret societies today. Discover where the world's worship of the goddess began and where it is hidden within the pages of this book. Mystery Babylon Unveiled, Lucifer the Queen of Heaven is available in paperback and ebook at all online sellers. If your local bookstore or library doesn't carry this book, please request it. By doing so, you will help get the book onto more shelves. Mystery Babylon Unveiled, Lucifer the Queen of Heaven contains essential knowledge that all Christians should take hold of. It is an insightful and profound revealing of one of the greatest mysteries in the world.